Record. All right, welcome in over there on Twitch, as well as on YouTube when this goes up after the recording gets loaded and YouTube does its fun thing. So I am Jared Mueller. I'm from the Orange and Brown Report. With me tonight is Luke Rowan. Luke, how are you tonight?
I'm good. It's been
Good.
a while since I've been on one of these.
Yeah, buddy, we're gonna have a little bit of fun. So I don't know how long this will last, but I know I'm using my free version of Zoom, which has some limitations of how long I'm allowed to talk anyway. So we're just gonna knock this out. And so tonight we're gonna actually go through a mock draft, focusing primarily on the Browns. And so Luke and I will be Andrew Berry and whoever, Paul DePodesta, I guess, or Kevin Stefanski, or whatever with my creepy mustache. Wow, that looks so bad. So yeah, that's gotta go. But we're gonna roll. So you'll see Luke and I up in kind of the one of the sides of the screen, and then you'll see our shared screen. We'll be using the Pro Football Network, which is Ben Albright and Tony Pauline, and I don't know if there's anybody else in that group, but those are the two guys that I know. They've been a part of the OBR in the past, so we're going to use theirs. So it allows some trades, those kind of things. So you can go to profootballnetwork.com/mock draft. Luke, before we get started, when you think about the number 10 pick, what are your thoughts about who you hope is there and who you want to be there realistically?
So the hope is Andrew Thomas.
Okay.
Um, Positional value is or I was listening to Jake earlier and Barry, and they talked about how the number 10 pick right now has a really weird value because everybody knows we want offensive tackle.
Hmm.
And so I think it's the trade value there to trade down is going to be very, very difficult because people know what we want. We're either going Andrew Thomas or possibly Wirfs.
Yeah.
I, I I mean he made the statement today that Conklin could play left or right tackle, which was a little weird. Um,
It
I,
felt like a way of getting some leverage, right? Or
yeah, it
getting some
just felt
back.
like a little nugget. Like, hey, he could play left tackle if we took somebody like Jedrick Wills, who's only played right tackle since high school.
Right.
And I get that that's to his blind side, but he's gone from the right side his entire football career.
Right.
Um, and so that would mean like me trying to learn how to eat left-handed tomorrow, and having to do it at a professional level against like Joey Chestnut in 2 months, right?
Right.
Like trying to out eat somebody who's a professional eater,
With
who's yeah,
no OTAs, no nothing.
right.
Yeah. I heard,
So
I don't know if it was Jeff Schwartz or who it was, but a former offensive lineman who talked about it's like learning to wipe your butt with the opposite hand.
oh, that is
Because
yeah.
that, I mean, that just feels weird. Like, I mean, bleh. And so that's yeah, I think that's a visual. I think what's interesting is that while he said what he said today, I think he's right in that tackles are tackles, right? Like the
Right.
reality is the right side is your blind side when you're looking to the left side of the field. And left side is left side is your blind side when you're looking to the right side of the field. So
Yep.
so I think he's right in that both tackles matter. I don't think it's correct that switching sides doesn't matter. Like left guard, right guard still matters, you know?
Right.
So for you, it's Andrew Thomas. Is that your order? Thomas, Wirfs, the other guys, or
It'd be Thomas Wirfs. Let me put that on mute. I'm such a bad
you're
guest.
so popular.
I know. It's my brother-in-law. He's sending me memes. That's what we've done for this whole coronavirus thing is memes.
It's what my
Um,
little group of work family we've been doing.
yeah.
Actually, I just got some TikToks actually from them
I
while
haven't done
while you're
that. I
talking.
My wife asked me if I was going to join TikTok. I said absolutely not. Um,
You guys should do the thing I just saw, which was she holds the wine, the bottom of the wine glass in her
mhm.
mouth, and you're back to front, and she leans backwards, and you drink the wine that she's holding the wine glass
Oh,
in her mouth.
that sounds
But
like a hot mess.
you both have to lean back at the same. It's all kinds of mess.
That would be a hot mess. Okay, so
Sorry.
I would say Thomas Wirfs. If I were going to go, this is the I know that people really like Javon Kinlaw. Okay, and he's a talented dude. Obviously, he's going to go in the first round. If he's picked at 10, then what does that mean for Richardson, Ogunjobi, and we've already signed Billings. So our fourth defensive tackle was the 10th overall pick, right?
Yeah,
And you're looking for first round pick should be a day one starter.
yeah,
So I have a hard time saying, yes, let's draft, is it Marlon Davidson out of Auburn, right? Is it?
yeah,
No. Yeah. And then Javon Kinlaw, like those guys, they're phenomenal. If we had two defensive tackles, like if we had like Sheldon Richardson and Billings and we were looking for a third guy, I could see that being the position they go. Having the 10th pick being the fourth defensive tackle, I just don't see that. I could be wrong. They I don't know. I wouldn't do that. Um, I think it's left tackle or I unless they move back and they try to grab another second or third round pick, and then they take like a Josh Jones or an Ezra Cleveland.
yeah.
Um, I don't really, I don't see another offensive tackle in the first round. There's the Austin Jackson smoke. I just don't see him going first round. Um,
No, but I think you
so
can see people getting desperate. Big guys that can
yeah,
sort of do something or whatever. Like those guys go. Like I would say Derek Brown falls into that for me, where he's a big guy and he can do some things. I
yeah,
just wouldn't value him top
yeah. I think
ten.
Derek Brown. I think that's the guy out of Auburn, right? Is that the guy out of
Yep,
Auburn?
yep,
Yeah, that's the guy. Okay.
yep.
So I think Marlon Davidson's another defensive tackle. But anyway, so yeah, Derek Brown, Javon Kinlaw, all first round talents. I just don't see them as the
Yep,
positional need here, even though they're game wreckers. That person's got to be, Sue or Aaron Donald or somebody that's
sure.
going to just take over a game. Um, maybe if Simmons there, then do you use 41 to move up to get somebody like Ezra Cleveland, or do you wait until the 74th pick to go after Lucas Niang if he checks out medically?
Whew.
I mean, right. So so the question is like, if you can move back, I think if Simmons is there, I think they move back.
Yep.
But that's my personal opinion. I know some of the guys that I'm on a group chat with on Twitter aren't going to like that, especially John. Uh, he is all about Isaiah Simmons, but he had said, like, I think the pick is Andrew Thomas. So
Yeah.
for those of us that have 73 Thomas jerseys, it works out because maybe Joe will give up that number or let him wear it in honor. I don't know. That'd be really
But
cool.
that'd be really nice, right?
It would be nice. So I don't have to buy another one. Well, I'm gonna have to buy another one because if the new unis are fire, according to Daryl Ryder, then I'll have to I'll have to get a new one.
I think what's interesting for me about Isaiah Simmons is, yeah, there's positional value. He's dynamic. He does all kinds of things. I just don't know if he's a game changer, right? Like
Right.
for me, game changer is Aaron Donald, is Von Miller,
Yep.
is Darrell Revis, is Malik Hooker, free safety. Like that type of player is game
Right.
changer for me, and that's um,
Like Patrick Peterson takes away half the field.
right. Exactly.
Right.
Like those are game changers where I think a versatile
Right.
piece like Isaiah Simmons, he does a lot for your defense, but I don't know if he's a game changer as much as he would be a completer. Like for example, I don't think it's the right idea, but San Francisco at 13, Isaiah Simmons is a defense completer. Like he helps against Patrick Mahomes, all
Yep.
kinds of things. Like there's a lot that he does there. So I'm with you. For me, it's worse Thomas, like that order.
Yeah.
And then after that, while I see what you're saying about Kinlaw, for me it's good teams draft forward, like they think
Yep.
ahead. And so, like Jake and I talked on the original Brown or the first OBR Newswire. The Browns, it's Miles Garrett, and we don't know after this year, so I think defensive line is fine to go. But let's take a look. So first thing, we have a question over here in Twitch. So whoever Tuzzles95 is, what's up? So what if the Browns trade for Trent Williams? Could you guys stay at 10 or trade down? And I would say for me, this one's simple. I would do whatever, but I would most likely um,
I would trade down.
going to copy strike you and claim all that sweet sweet revenue. No idea what that means. Yeah, I would trade down as well. Like that is a pretty simple kind of thing to do. there is if you can, right? But again, that's when value comes in. I think Tua decides what the value of the 10th pick is. I think if there's other offensive tackles available that they don't want, or if they've already traded for Trent Williams, I think Isaiah Simmons, and I think the top wide receiver decides the value of that 10th pick.
Yep.
Even if the Browns already have traded for Trent Williams, whatever it is, like there's still value there because the people picking after them have some reason to go forward
So,
with that.
would you agree that the draft hinges on the fourth pick with the Giants?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's the fourth pick, and I think it's Tua. Like
Yeah.
I've heard enough that the Dolphins maybe want Justin Herbert instead. But yes, because Miami could go Becton because Dave Gettleman wants this gargantuan dude who can run really fast. They can go Isaiah Simmons. They could go Derek Brown. Probably not. They could do a lot of different things there. So yeah, I think 4 and 2 really decide how the rest of the draft goes. If Washington goes with Tua, San Diego, sorry, Los Angeles, the Chargers go with Tua. There's a lot of options there. So yeah, 4 and 2 really decide everything. So
Yeah.
let's go ahead. We're going to start into our
Let's run
simulation.
this.
What I'm going to try to do is pause the draft. I'm going to put it on fast, but I'm going to try to pause the draft um, every kind of fourth picks starting out early. Let's do normal speed just so it doesn't go too fast for us, but just so we can kind of take a look at where things are going and what we think so far. Um, so
Oh, Simmons at 3.
so
That is interesting.
it is really interesting. We have no idea what Detroit wants to do. 1 and 2 went what we expect, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know exactly what Detroit wants to do, but for the Browns' sake, which is what we're talking about, Simmons and Okuda are flipped here, right?
Yeah.
Like that's really kind of what it could be. But do you think the? I mean, I don't know. I mean, Jeff Risdon does the Lions stuff, so I could ask him. But Isaiah Simmons to Detroit, I don't know.
Didn't I think Jeff Risdon put out an article like who's the linebackers for the Lions? I think he did an article a few months ago like there's just a bunch of guys on the Lions and they don't really have, you
A guy.
they don't have a Donta Hightower like
Gotcha.
like a speed guy. I think and I think it was either Daniel Jeremiah or somebody from the other field. If you're going to draft Isaiah Simmons to be a linebacker, then he can only play a linebacker. You can't run him out to strong safety. You can't run him out as a big nickel. Like,
Right.
give him one responsibility his rookie and second year,
Sure.
and then year 3 and 4. Then you can take that 4.39 speed at 238 pounds, and you can say, now we're going to have you cover the slot receiver. Let
Yep.
him get
Let him
some
get
legitimate,
comfortable.
yeah, get comfortable in the defense because he's going to play. I'm assuming in their defense, he'd play a Mike backer,
Right.
and because he's not big enough to because they run that 3-4, so or that technically everything's a nickel now with the way the league is, but he's not big enough to play, in my opinion, a stand up outside linebacker in a
No.
traditional
No. No.
34
No. No.
defense. He's 20 to 30 pounds too light,
Yep.
so use his speed. It almost be to me. I have said that Isaiah Simmons in a 3-4 would be a almost like a Ryan Shazier light
Sure.
in
Yep.
the sense of his speed is so phenomenal that he can overcome some of the other
Right.
nuances of playing linebacker and having to be essentially the quarterback of the defense. So I think that would be a phenomenal pick. I mean, he's got the quarterbacks in the NFC North are they're not Lamar Jackson, right?
Right.
You've got Aaron Rodgers, mobile, not a burner.
And
You've
aging.
got Trubisky or Nick
Nick
Foles,
Foles. Yep.
which is statues. Trubisky can move, I should say that. And then,
Just got to force him to throw left, and it's all over.
yeah, and then you got Kirk Cousins with Minnesota,
Right.
who is again he can slide, he can move, but he's not going to
Yep.
run 70 yards on the field like Lamar Jackson with the triple option. So I think for them that would be a very good piece.
Yeah, he would just need a thumper next to him. Like
Yep.
he's not going to be able to like they need a big, and I don't
They
know.
need BJ Goodson.
Yeah,
They need BJ.
they need someone to take up some space
Yeah.
in there, all of that. Number 4 is interesting in that Dave Gettleman doesn't take cornerbacks high,
Oh,
generally speaking, and he
well, it's
doesn't trade back. So um, either way, we've got the top 4 off the board. My question to you, Luke, is any reason to want to even negotiate a trade at this point in time?
no. So if it was so if I'm a betting man, if Simmons goes at 3, Mekhi Becton goes 4.
Um,
unless
yeah, yeah, and
because
that's we've started to hear Okuda, who had an interesting combine, could actually be a sliding candidate, and I think he is someone the Browns like.
man, if he
Why
ends
he?
up in San
Yeah,
Diego or L.A. at the Chargers, oh,
Chris
Derwin
Harris, Derwin
James, oh my
James,
gosh, and Joey
Bosa,
Bosa,
Ingram.
oh yeah,
Yeah, that
that's
that defense is loaded. But then
that's a
the
loaded
question is,
defense.
do they want the quarterback, right? And or
Herbert, yeah,
do they need an offensive tackle after switching their left tackle for Trey Turner? I can't think of their
yeah,
left tackle right
yeah,
now.
that was a crazy day.
Yeah, like there's all that kind of stuff happening. So I'm gonna go two more picks. I'm gonna let it
Okay,
drop and see what happens in the next two picks for us. Tua
all right, to
and Herbert.
Justin,
Okay. So
back to back
now,
QBs.
yeah, so this makes sense. So we've heard for a long time that three quarterbacks in the top 10, really the top nine, was likely. There's even some talk that Jordan Love could actually, yeah, Jordan Love, yeah. Sorry, there's a few. Bryce Love is the running back from Stanford. A lot of
Yeah.
loves in there. There's even some talk that he could have fallen, or not fallen, he could have been found over Herbert. But we're not surprised here. Tua looked really good in the workouts that were against the stay at home order. Everybody watching, stay at home.
So
Um,
I have a theory about Jordan Love.
okay,
I think he's going to be drafted the same pick that Lamar Jackson was,
makes sense.
number 31, two,
Two.
two.
Yeah, he was the last pick. Yep.
I I think because after the Chargers, there's nobody that needs a starting quarterback.
Besides New England,
Yeah, are they going to roll
23.
out there with Stidham? Are they going
Brian,
to
I
sign
mean
Cam
Brian
Newton?
Hoyer.
Brian?
No. So my interesting thing is I wonder about them if Washington goes two at two. Do they
Hmm,
trade for Haskins? Right, that actually makes sense. That makes some sense to me. Is give up a second or a third, whatever it, somewhere in that area,
yeah.
or a future. If they go Tua or Herbert here, Haskins makes sense. But yeah, I don't know if Belichick wants to
So
start young right now.
I don't know enough about the Washington situation. Is Rivera running this as GM too, like a head coach GM, or does he have a GM?
Oh, it's just him. There's nobody else.
Boy, I tell you what, if he drafts a quarterback there,
Right.
how much faith does the locker room still have in him without even a practice?
Yeah. I mean, the good thing is Rivera is able to. He may not. He's that guy who has a high floor, maybe low ceiling as a coach. Like he's not going to inspire, but he's going to be stable and he's all that kind of stuff. So we got a couple comments over here. Anthony Joki is really excited so far. This has gone great for the Browns. Jace says he can't fathom the Chargers rolling with Tyrod or nothing, so that makes sense for Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
Um, and I think what's also interesting when we look at some of these teams, starting at the top, the Bengals, new coach last year, Washington, new coach this year, Detroit and New York both have. So New York has a new coach. Detroit and New York have their GMs on the hot seat.
Yep.
Detroit also has their coach on the hot seat.
Is
Miami,
Patricia on the hot seat?
yeah,
I didn't know if he was or not.
yeah.
Okay.
Both leadership in Detroit is. And so you have some people who maybe need to win sooner than later and some that don't, right? Miami has been in tank mode and played better under Flores than expected. And then San Diego
With
going in
nobody.
with nothing. He did the opposite of Hugh Jackson, right? Like made it
He
happen.
he went into NCAA 14 and started off with Ball State and won the national championship.
Pretty
Like,
much.
or got to a bowl game. We should just say he got to a bowl game and landed two 5-star recruits.
Yep.
God, I missed that game. Hurry up, NCAA and EA. All right,
Right.
let's okay.
So we're on
So
pick seven. Sorry.
Matt Rule. Here we go. His first pick.
So here's my question to you still, though. We're looking at Carolina, who brought in Teddy Bridgewater, brought in Robbie Anderson, got the left tackle from the Chargers. Um, yeah, Jason Snyder jumped in. Rivera said that uh, Allen, who they just traded for from Carolina, has a leg up on Haskins,
That's
which is
true.
true.
That's true.
So here we're at seven. Offensive line. Offensive line. Wirfs, Becton, Thomas, Williams, Ezra Cleveland, Josh Jones.
We're good.
We're three picks away. No need to trade up, right?
None.
All right, let's get the next two in real quick. So far so great for the Browns, right? Derek Brown, there's been a lot of connections. uh, connecting him.
But they're going to miss Keekly.
Yeah. So they got a big guy who there are some people that love him. There's some people that look at some of his combine testing and are worried about him. But for Carolina, with Teddy Bridgewater, with Christian McCaffrey, Curtis Samuel, Robbie Anderson, they got their left tackle. They got Joe Brady running the offense. Starting their defense, they lost Gerald McCoy. Their defense is going to need revamped. I'll
I'm
tell
going
you.
to
Go ahead.
It's going to be interesting to see how Joe Brady takes that LSU offense and translates it, because he was not the true offensive coordinator for LSU. He was the, I believe, passing down coordinator.
Right. Yeah.
So,
But he was, from what I remember, and maybe I'm wrong here, he was with New Orleans, went to
right.
LSU, and then,
Yes.
so he has some NFL background, so that's hopeful there. But my philosophy as running an NFL team is this: if I have an offensive minded coach, I'm loading up my defense. And if I have a defensive minded coach, I'm loading up my offense. Like I want
Right.
to trust the guy to be smart enough to take good players and make them great on his side of the ball and vice versa. Like wherever I have my strength, coaching is where I want to do the opposite. I'm not saying it's right. Um,
Yeah.
so, all right. So we have two picks or a pick, and then it's the Browns. So we get to argue, which will be fun. All right. Unless this goes one of our ways. All right. Well, it
Oh,
went
well,
one
well,
of our ways. All right. So,
settles it.
all right. So here we are.
Champion.
Yeah. So let's look at what we have left. At the offensive tackle position, we have Thomas, Wills, Austin Jackson, Ezra Cleveland, Josh Jones. Okay. So you and I both have Wirfs and Thomas above
AB, yeah.
that kind of as that group. But then we're also looking at players like Jerry Judy, Henry Ruggs, Kinlaw, who we talked about in the opener, CD Lamb, who some think is the number one wide receiver. I have Judy as my top overall wide receiver, where Henry Ruggs is the highest impact wide receiver, which is a little different for me. Is there anybody here, either you think someone trading up for would be valuable and worth risking Andrew Thomas going to the 11 to the Jets, or um, is there someone here just worth more than Andrew Thomas to you right here now?
So everybody talks about how they didn't run a lot of 11 personnel up in Minnesota last year. But everybody also says that their offense was only Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. And they didn't have anybody but the guy bagging the groceries playing the third wide receiver. Now,
Laquan
currently,
Treadwell, who was also drafted before, can't guard Mike.
yeah. So if you think about our offensive roster from the wide receiver position, there's Taywan Taylor, who is a deep threat, but didn't do anything last year. It was the weird. We traded for him before the Tennessee game, and then he never played, or he did special teams.
Yeah, pretty
You've
much never.
got Damian Ratley, who
Yep,
is a speed guy as well,
yep,
who showed off in the preseason. There's I think DJ Montgomery,
yep,
um, practice squad guy. I can't remember if he's practice squad. Then you've obviously got Kadero Hodge, who's special teams player, so he's your fifth, fourth guy. And then who's the other guy they got? Drawing a blank.
Oh, well, it'd be nice if it was Hollywood Higgins, right?
Uh, so again, you the number one wide receiver is there. I could see a scenario where he says, "I want Jerry Judy or Henry Ruggs the third
Right. Or CD Lamb.
or
They're
CeeDee
all they're
Lamb."
all in that kind of
All three of those guys are phenomenal. I mean, I don't think any of these three, they all run routes well. They all catch the ball well with their hands. They're not a lot of body catches. They all have breakaway speed, yak, everything that everybody talked about Hollywood Brown last year. All
right.
three of these guys do.
Yep.
The I
I would listen. Here's the reality. If at around pick 8, 7 or 8, I need to, as an OBR subscribers would, I need to start to see something from Lane Atkins that there's movement with Trent Williams or Jason Peters. Like for me, while I love Jerry Judy and I'm excited about Henry Ruggs and I like CD Lamb and obviously,
I think I have a text message from you saying, "Bring me Jerry Judy to Cleveland."
yeah, probably
At some point in
love
this
the dude.
past,
Like, give me two OBJs. Are you flipping kidding me? Like,
yeah, no,
obviously that's a high bar, but I better be hearing if that starts. I better be hearing some rumors of a trade for Trent Williams or signing Jason Peters, right? But we don't have charge of that. Listen, I would love Jerry Judy. We don't know OBJ and Jarvis's health.
Yep.
I think they did what they did in Minnesota for a lot of different reasons, but I think Kevin Stefanski isn't stuck with I have to only have two wide receivers. Like he's not
Look at
that
San
thinker.
Francisco. They ran a lot of 11 personnel.
Yeah. But you can put
They
different people out.
right.
You can just do a lot of different things. So I don't think you have to look at that as only they're going to do that. But I think at this point in time, because we can't make that trade of number 97 for Trent Williams, I think we're going to agree to go with Andrew Thomas. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm going to go with Andrew Thomas.
Okay. And then after I click this, my thought is tell me what you're thinking. When it comes to 41, so we're picking Andrew Thomas.
Hmm.
At what point in the draft would you possibly think about trading back up if, and we can talk about it as the draft's going, if Xavier McKinney, Grant Delpit, a defensive end like Chason, Kinlaw, whoever, at what point would you start wanting to possibly trade up to 41?
I'd probably say the mid 20s
Okay.
would
So we'll
be about
stop
the
it.
time.
Yeah,
I'd
we'll
say,
stop
yeah, probably 20,
23-ish.
22, 23. Yeah.
Okay.
See who's available. I am a big fan of Jeremy Chin again, but the hard part is that we don't know what his translation is going to be to the pro level
And
or
I'll
Kyle
tell,
Duggar.
yeah, and I've said it a few times. Jeremy Chin, and I'm going to hit this button to let it roll. To me, um, is a more he's Isaiah Simmons-ish instead of his primary position being in the secondary. I'm sorry, at linebacker who can play secondary like Simmons. He's secondary who can play
Wait a
line.
second.
Oh, we didn't pause quick enough.
Hold on. I thought the Steelers don't have a first round pick, do they?
Looks like they made a trade.
Oh,
See, that went way quicker than I thought. Sorry, y'all. I
wow.
greatly
Okay,
apologize.
first of all, I would love if they drafted Austin
Yeah,
Jackson
that's
because he
hilarious.
is a work in progress.
Yeah. They have
So
not been as good of a drafter as people give them credit for.
no.
So we don't need to spend much time here, but Jerry Judy at 11,
Boom.
cool. Wide
Who
receiver,
wide
wide
receiver?
receiver, wide. Here they're going through our three wide receivers, and none of that would surprise me overall.
No.
Like Adam Gase wants to win. Who knows? John Gruden likes wide receivers. Good thing it's not Ruggs because Derek Carr never throws the ball down the
14's
field.
interesting. 14's very
14 is
interesting.
never going to happen. They're going to win under with Tom Brady. Um, but interesting. So now we get Wills. So here's where some of the players if they would have fallen, Kinlaw,
Yeah.
Chason, some of those guys I may have been interested in, even like a Justin Jefferson, Denzel Mims, CJ Henderson, most people think is like the second best corner.
Yeah.
Ezra Cleveland's now off the board. Obviously, he wouldn't be the pick after Andrew Thomas. Trayvon Diggs. So here's a really cool thing. So far, there's a couple guys that it would have been nice if they fell, but
Hmm.
there's nobody. We're not really losing out on some of those players. So unfortunately, I pressed pause too late. But we're at the 30th pick, so moving up 11.
Honestly, can we move up to get Kenneth Murray?
So I think that's a question that's an interesting one when you think about positional value and you think about need. Do you when you see Kenneth Murray or Patrick Queen? Those are the two kind of next
Yeah.
linebackers, even on his list. Um, the drop from them to, I'll just pull it up,
Probably Willie Gay.
Willie Gay, and I'm not trying to minimize
Logan
linebacker
Wilson's,
to being
yeah.
linebacker, but Wilson is the other one that I think of as kind of a third runner. When you think of the drop from Kenneth Murray, Patrick Queen, down to even if it's these guys, Uchi, Malik Harris, who some of them we would wonder could any of these guys be third round picks versus the drop from Winfield, McKinney, Delpit, Chin to, and I don't know Duggar very well. I know some people really like him. I just haven't spent any time
Again,
on him.
small school, tough to find film. Yeah.
Yep, down to Ashton Davis, right? Because he's kind of the only one at the third level for me, at least, or third round level. So when you think of that drop off and positional value, and adding the idea that you would have to trade something, is that something that you feel strongly about or you just kind of would like?
So it depends on I mean, so okay, so we're at 30. I think Green Bay is going to take Kenneth Murray here. Who's available? Who's all
Oh,
available?
all, yeah. Yep, he's the top. Josh
Yeah.
Jones, Winfield. Yeah, so we're getting right into all of it. The Murray or the linebackers, the safeties, like that's we're right in kind of the mix of all of that right now.
I say we let it roll.
Okay.
I think that I think Logan Wilson's a good player. I don't know what his coverage is like, but
So we're
I
yeah. What I wanted to look at is what's the at least using Jimmy Johnson, right? Because that's
mm,
just something basic. So the 30th pick is 620.
mm,
The 40th pick is 490.
so is that a 6th round pick then?
120. No, that's so this doesn't have the comp picks in it. So 120
Mm.
basically would be 97. So our second, third round pick, so 41 in our second, third round pick to move up 11 spots.
So I would then wait until you can use that. See, the hard part is we don't have a 5th round pick,
Right. Yeah.
right? So we got rid of that last year. So
So
that
we
actually
to use
that
a fourth, we would be moving in like a few picks up, two or
yeah.
three. So I'll try to run it just through the next three picks, because I don't think we want to give up that second, third round pick right now.
No, I don't have a T Higgins.
T. Higgins is an interesting player. I think Green Bay could go with wide receiver. San Francisco already did. So we got one of those linebackers off the board. We still probably are going to get close to needing to give up that second, third round pick in this area.
Mm-hmm.
Ballard hates the Browns now, right? I mean, that's it.
We fired his buddy.
They
Yeah, that's
fired his
true.
buddy.
Well,
Bengals,
but you know what though? But wasn't he there when Barry was there?
no, he was in Indy.
Was Ballard there when Barry was
Uh-uh.
there?
No,
Okay.
Telesco and those guys.
Mm,
So the first place we could trade down is down to 35. Or trade up is
yeah.
35 here to Detroit, depending on what we see available, and then we'll have to flip a coin or argue over Kenneth Murray versus McKinney or Delpit
Or Winfield.
or Winfield.
They
All
went.
right,
Actually, that's not a
that
bad pick for the
those
Bengals because their center, the guy from Ohio State, is not panned out.
nope. Yep. So that's my Billy Price.
Yeah, Billy Price. Yeah,
So
and I
I
love. I
was
mean, obviously,
yeah, he's a Buckeye.
I love it, but he's not played as well as I thought he could.
Yeah, him and Pat Elflein, I'm surprised both of them have really struggled
Yeah.
at the next level. So to go up to 35 from 41, we're not moving far. I'll again pull this up just because it gives us some basis to go off of. 35 is 550 points, so 70 points without a fifth round pick. I think we're looking at what is our fourth is 115. So 115 is almost enough to get us there. So just to move up those six spots, five spots, I'm bad at math sometimes, we're giving up that fourth round pick. That means we've already drafted 10, we would draft 35, we would draft our
71, 71,
71, 77, whatever that is.
and
We'll
then
see here,
97.
and then 97, and then the seventh round. So there would
No, we'd have a
literally,
six. You'd have a 6th round. There's a 6th round pick. There's a
because we would be trading our fifth. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I think the question is given that we both I mean, we like Winfield, we like Murray, we like McKinney, we like Delpit, does giving up that fourth round pick for the top player, at least on our board,
If those guys are all gone, then I would move down from 41.
yeah, okay. But
That's
is
when
it,
I would move down and try to recoup that 5th round pick, maybe another fourth.
yep,
If you could get another fourth, or if you're looking to move up, you're trading. Well, see, this is the hard part, right? Because now you're in this range of it only takes a 5th round pick to move up, or a 4th round pick. They've said they want to keep Kareem Hunt, but
yeah, could you be
could you use
creative?
him to move from 41 back up into the first?
The unfortunate thing is Kareem hasn't signed his qualifying offer, so
That's
you
true.
can't trade him yet. So, do we want to risk it since we have four guys we would be okay with drafting right now? Do we want to go a couple picks and kind of
I
see
think
what?
I think Andrew Berry clinks when he walks. I think we risk it.
Yeah, took me a second. All right, so McKinney, Terrell. All right, so
Tucker's
we're
gone. All right.
yeah, so no, so basically of our group, McKinney So right now, if we were stuck, and I'm using quotes, with Kenneth Murray, Antoine Winfield, or Grant Delpit, right? Because that's literally they would have to pick two of them. We'd have one left.
Well, that and 40 is now a pick to the Rams, right?
Yeah, once that gets finalized,
Didn't they trade that pick for like a
yes, because that
grocery
would have been
bag?
the that would for Brandon Cooks, but
Yeah.
yes. Um, Jace is telling me they got 57.
Oh, okay. Oh, there it is. Good
Yeah,
call,
yeah.
Jace.
Okay, cool. So, but yeah, so I think, and what Anthony is saying, at this scenario, I don't think you can argue the difference between Murray, Delpit, and Winfield could justify a trade up. And that's kind of where I'm at is giving more, like when we don't have to trade up. Again, that's we are thinking. If Andrew Berry has Kenneth Murray and anybody else, that's a different conversation, right?
Right.
But we think they're all the three of them are very good players and could fit their needs. We are the ones drafting right now. So for me, at this point, I'm not trying to trade up. Like I wouldn't give a
No, I
thing
wouldn't.
away because I'm getting one of the three players I want.
Yep.
Be interesting which one's left or if if more than one of them's left. So here we go. Yeah, all right,
Okay.
look at that.
Look at that.
Okay, so here's where it's okay to disagree. I think so. Given where we're at right now, Murray is probably significantly better than Winfield and Delpit are. Sorry, Murray's better than his next options, maybe
Hmm.
than what Delpit and Winfield are. And having these two guys on the board could lead to Ashton Davis still being available, if that makes sense. Like,
Do you think they take a 26-year-old safety, 25-year-old safety?
who's 25? Sorry.
I thought Ashton Davis was like 24 or 25
I didn't know his age. That's a good question.
because he transferred from a JUCO school on a track scholarship and then he got invited to play football. I want to say he's like 23 or 24. I mean, he's
So he doesn't fit into the long term.
if
I
you
hear you.
want Google that, just Google that real quick to see how old he is
I
because
can.
I
It
think
might
he's
be in
24.
here. Might be in their scouting
Everybody talks
reports.
about Davis, and I'm like, he's kind of old. I mean, he's not old. I mean, I'm 38, but like,
He's old for what he is.
he's old for where he's coming out of. He'll be 24 to play. Jay said he'll be 24 this season.
Yep. Yeah. So it'll
So
be 20. He's.
he's older than Baker, isn't he?
No, I think he's close though.
Is he close? Did Baker
Yeah.
just turn 24? I don't know. I'm like I love Baker. I don't love him that much, but
Right. You're not.
um
You're not that addicted. So that's a good
no.
question.
So
So it. Go ahead.
I just don't see Davis fitting into the mold to be 24 and they everybody talked about okay, they could trade for Ngakwe from Jacksonville, who's going to be 25, right? Jack Conklin is 25
True.
and is on his second contract.
Contract. Yep. I like. I hear what
Davis
you're
on a
saying.
4-year contract is going to be 28 years old going into that season.
29 in the season. Yeah.
You're never going to re-sign him to a long-term deal. So he is a one contract, tiny extension, and his NFL career is over.
And
But he
that's
got to
your
play in the league, so he
second.
ball.
That's your second round pick.
My second round pick would be Kenneth Murray because we have nobody at all to play
Okay.
linebacker.
All right. I would just for everybody's sake, I would be drafting Grant Delpit here on my own. I'm okay with Kenneth Murray, um, but listen, it's not a bad pick. I think Delpit would fit into Joe Woods' system as that true center
Jace agrees
fielder.
with me. Look at Jace. See, Murray has that plus plus character.
So we
This would be
drafted
a quick.
Kenneth Murray, blah blah blah. So I'll just say this, as we're going to probably go a little bit quicker through the third and so on rounds. I think it's interesting to watch as there goes Ashton Davis off the board. Um, Before we get, I'll just stop for a second. Just someone to keep the eye on, Curtis Weaver, defensive end. I think the Browns are going to have more interest in him than fans will kind of agree on. It's not a very good edge rusher class. After Chase Young and Kayvon Chazon, I don't love the class. There's some interesting players, but I don't love it.
Yeah,
So that's someone to look at,
I,
just to
I
be
like the
aware of.
Bills pick. That's a hell of a pick for them.
After all, yeah, listen, I still think Josh Allen's terrible, just to be honest. Like,
Tight end number 17.
huh?
Tight end number 17.
Yeah, like Lamar Jackson can work out for running backs when Josh Allen works out as a tight end.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, but what's great about the Bills, and it's something that I appreciate about good teams, is they find a way to use what they have versus
Mhm.
wishing they had something else, right? Like that's what's that's what arrogant people do. It's one of the reasons Josh McDaniels is not the Browns coach. Is arrogant people are like, I want things my way because then it's about me. Whereas um, smart people go, how can I win? Yeah,
I will say
where did
this.
we have that up? Sorry, I'm watching. Jason just asked about trading up. Oh, should. Well,
Oh,
are the who's?
oh, I see it at
Yeah,
53.
53.
Moved
Good
up
call.
from
Or move. We could have moved back, or we could have moved up. So moving up from 70 whatever 74 into the 50s would have been tough, but I'm with you, Jason. I see
you
the
could still technically move up to 57, mid 50s, and try to grab Jeremy Chin if you don't think he's going to make it.
yeah. I mean,
He is the top safety on the board right now,
when I look at
or
the
58.
that's what I'm thinking. So
Yep.
let's stop it here when we get to 58 and see if we have that ability. Because I think Chin is a great. I think he's worth it, and then we can figure out the value here in a second. Yes, we'd love to get. I know everybody wants to get rid of Hunt. I just don't. I get it. We just don't. We can't yet.
I don't know if Philly needs another, or Minnesota needs another running back.
Right, that's true too. But there's lots of he. I think he's talking about for Philly. Like that
Oh,
actually
for
makes sense.
Philly.
Kareem Hunt, Philly. Like again, he would have to sign, and that would have to be a plan. I
Yeah.
think they just have decided for the good of Kareem Hunt, they're going to try to work with him this year. So trading up to 58 from what number did I say? 74.
74.
So 58. Again, we're just using this so we don't have to try to overthink the process. And I should make this bigger.
320.
Whoa,
And whoa.
I'm not that old. Um,
So 58 is 320 and 74 is 220. So you need 100 points.
yeah. So 100 points, we're looking at 115 plus
Wow. Boy, did these drop in.
quickly, right?
Can you trade
So
future picks on this?
you can. So
I mean,
like a
technically,
fourth and a fourth,
fourth and a few. Well, yeah, because
because
that'd
that's
be
a fifth.
technically, yeah, technically be worth a fifth. So,
Let's see what we can do.
all
So we're
right.
gonna. Who is this? Minnesota.
Yeah.
All right. By the way, Jace, all of you, thank you for being in.
Yeah, I appreciate
Again,
it.
most of you know, but get on the OBR, and we're going to try to have something like this going on for the actual draft. So 115 is our fourth, and then a future fourth to try to get up to 58. Do we feel good about that?
I do. They
Yeah.
got a ton of picks
They got a ton of picks, which I think this is where they might have more of an interest. And again, I'm not saying we want to do this. They may have more of an interest here than they do there, right? Like
I would
I'm
do it. What about Cleveland third and fifth from next year?
and we'll let I don't know if they're given they have so many picks. I don't know how they
Right.
have so many. I think this might actually make some sense for them,
Try it.
and we'll go from there. And it's been accepted. All right, so we got
Perfect.
aggressive.
We'll worry about next year. Next year.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? So, Jason, great idea, buddy. Thank you for jumping in and giving us that thought. So we'll resume the draft, and we agree. Now, what's interesting is the guy right above him, Michael
That
Pittman,
is very tempting.
is very tempting. There's a guy that hopefully will be available late in the third named Van Jefferson that I'm really interested in
From Florida.
from
Yep.
Florida. He would be a fun pick. But I think we have to go. So we've gotten a linebacker, an offensive tackle, and now we're going to get a safety who can do a little bit of everything. Carl Joseph actually is an interesting, not that they're a comparative, but they're an interesting kind of interchangeable. They can do a few different things
Yep.
that could be kind of fun. So we got Chin, and then we're going to
And
wait.
he's got, and I will say that I think that's what the Sendejo pick was for, the signee, because he knows exactly the defense that Joe Woods wants to run.
Yep,
And I think Carl Joseph was in his defense before as well. So,
yep. And
you
he
know,
was with the who was the defensive coordinator at the Raiders and got suspended or in trouble because he flipped off somebody. I forget. Yeah,
yeah.
he's on the roster
But you
now.
have, I don't want to give up on Red Wine because I think he's got the athletic ability to play free. I just think he's got to get up here.
Yeah, and to be honest, as I get older, athletic ability has become secondary to me, and
Hmm.
it's like with offensive tackles, Mekhi Becton and even Jedrick Wills. There's technique issues there. I know people love Will's technique, but there's some hand issues that really bother me. Like I literally watched him try to run block with his chest.
Mm.
Like pisses me off. And so more and more I'm like, okay, do you have enough athletic ability, but do you know what you're doing, right? Corey Coleman is a great example of someone who had a ton of athletic ability and didn't know what
Yeah.
he was doing. Like just didn't know how to get off the line, use his hands, set people up, and all that kind of stuff. So I don't love red wine because of that. Like obviously he's very athletic. I'm just not sure he's ever going to get it. And I don't know, and I don't mean that against smarts. Like I think football, you need everything. You need physical, you need smarts, and then you need feel. And feel is such a hard thing to grab a hold of, but it's connected to the physical and the smarts. And I think Redwine's probably smart enough and definitely physical enough, and there's a feel issue that concerns me.
So, Jace, I would say for the picks for next year, a lot of these 1 year signees were over the $2.5 million mark to get comp picks. So if you give up a third and a fifth to move up and to get your starting safety, I think you're gonna. I think we're in line to get 2 or 3 comp picks next year.
Sure, that
So
makes sense.
really, the third round pick is a loss, but the fifth round pick is actually a net gain
Yeah.
because you're probably going to pick up 2/3 from comp picks.
And even if it's not two-thirds, because there's a lot of quarterbacks that move this year.
Yeah,
Well, so it'd be the following year, because the comp picks you'll get in 2021, the picks we just gave away, Tom Brady gets New England one of those. That's it's going to
yeah,
be, and we're not going to get any of those because we signed Conklin and Hooper and those guys most likely.
right.
But the following year, so I think there's some flexibility there. And I agree with you. I don't think Barry's going to want to give away those picks, but I think there is a loss there. But they kept their fourth rounder this year, and it just helps. It just made sense for Minnesota. I don't know if we were trading with somebody else, we would have done the same thing. I
Right.
think Minnesota would have liked it. The real quick one I want to point out here is 63 Pittman to go along for him and with Drew Lock and Cortland Sutton. That's a really interesting pairing that I
That's a
really like.
massive wide receiver group.
Yeah, it is. Like that's Twin
That's
Towers
like
action,
that's like that's like two tight ends out there.
pretty much. So we are gonna. It's gonna take us a little while to get through to where we need to go. Appreciate everybody kind of stopping in with us. I don't know how long we've been going. Oh yeah, I do. It's 47 minutes. So we'll try to run through the rest of this pretty quickly, um, just so that we're respectful of your guys' time. And I don't know when Zoom's going to kick me off, so we'll figure that out as well. If it does, we'll restart. That'd be all right.
I heard some stuff about Bocce this morning. I was surprised about, so I'm not surprised he's in Baltimore with this pick.
Oh, Michigan State. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So and here's the thing, right? Like I really like Troy Dye, the linebacker, but getting Kenneth Murray, I don't have to worry about any like these guys are all significantly lower than Kenneth Murray.
Yeah.
Kenneth Murray, to me, I know he's gonna have to earn it, not earn your stripes or whatever, but he's gonna be your day one starter. Uh,
So it's interesting to look at 74. Obviously, we don't know because we took Chin. We traded up to 58 to shake him. But it's interesting to look at who was available at 74 and below. Like I know Jake is pretty high on Justin Matabuki,
mhm.
um, Rashard Lawrence, whatever. So and Logan Wilson, he went 79. He may have been
Could have been the pick at 74.
could have been the pick at 74. But then we had already taken Kenneth Murray, right? So this is really where we can just kind of talk about what could have been. If we take Grant Delpit, we get Kenneth Murray, or not Kenneth Murray, sorry, Logan Wilson. Not saying that's whether it's good or bad, it's not doesn't really matter. So instead, we went Kenneth Murray and traded up to get Jeremy Chin because we wanted to make sure we didn't lose out. On the other hand, if we would have gone with
Delpit.
Delpit or whoever, would we have wanted to trade up to make sure we got a Logan Wilson? We wouldn't have traded up as high, but would
Right.
we have tried to trade up? Oh, that's a pick. Uchi, man, the Ravens. I hate when they get the players that I think they should get. So it just creates some interesting thing as we look through who Jonathan Greenyard, who may be an edge rusher in the next, at the NFL level. Matthew Pert, who I love as kind of that third round offensive tackle, our nets off the board, a lot of good things. And Anthony Jokey is saying Peoples Jones is really interesting here. What are your thoughts now? So if we just look
So
at wide
I actually
receiver,
agree with Anthony on this one. Peoples Jones had such a bad quarterback system at Scum uh, that again, let me get here, like
yeah,
uh, that he's what, like 6'4"? Is he 6'4"?
let's see what he measured at the combine in Indy, where I first met you. 6'2",
6'2".
actually. Yep, 212, ran 4.48. He was given the
Crazy vertical.
yeah,
God, that's insane.
yep, he was given number one, right? He was honored with that number there, the Braylon Edwards, and that
Yeah.
history of that. So he was given that. He was a really high pick, or not high pick, but a high recruit. So I think he's really interesting. When you think of, let's start with position and need. Not that I like to be a need drafter, but I just want to
Yeah.
kind of talk through that. So offensive tackle, linebacker, and safety have been taken care of, right?
Yep.
So we've hit the only thing about the PFN draft that I don't like is nowhere I can see my like summary picks.
Yeah. And
But
like what your team positional needs are.
I can see team needs, but I can't
Oh yeah.
see who we already picked so far in the draft. So,
Okay.
but they have offensive tackle, outside linebacker, and semi linebacker. They don't even have safety on there. Click my
Why do they have
hem.
corner? Like I mean, I know Kevin Joseph is an injury bug, but like
Hey,
you're looking at
thanks,
slot corner.
Jace. Appreciate it. Um,
Oh, look at
yeah, there we go.
that.
So here's the thing. I'll be honest. If I was at this point and had to, I'm actually picking Van Jefferson over over Peoples Jones.
Okay, so there are how many receivers on the board?
And this is where, and I said this on an earlier one that I did this. This
Tyler
is
Johnson too.
where um, mock draft simulators are a setup for fans and media and everybody else. I can't see this anywhere else, right? Like I don't know what world I'm living in that I know, an idea of where these numbers are, so that I can say, ooh, well maybe Van Jefferson or Tyler Johnson will make it down to 115 because they're at 103 and 118, right? Like that's where it's kind of a
No, I
lie.
was going to suggest we move down. Just move down a couple spots and grab another a future pick.
Okay. I actually
I
don't hate that. So, um,
mean, you've got
like Philly,
Philly. Um,
Minnesota has a ton of picks. Give us
yeah, you could
something
move down to
back.
105 and let them give you some picks.
Get our fifth back.
Yeah.
See, oh, proposed trade. It doesn't matter because I'm the one that would have to pick. So we'll click into Minnesota if I can find their stupid Viking
So what is the cost to go from 105 to 97?
ham sandwich.
Probably.
105 is 84. 97
So
is
let's get our future fifth back.
yeah. So we're giving up 97. They're giving us 105. We're gonna get a fifth back. See how that goes. All right.
Look at
So
that.
so
Look at
that's so
that,
we
Jace. I just got a pick back and we're gonna get comp picks.
yeah,
Looking
the
out
year
for you.
after.
The year after.
So yep, so we'll just run through this. There goes Peoples Jones, makes that life easier. And ta-da. So this is where we're looking at what's left.
Van
Where's my
Jefferson.
third? Your third is Jeremy Chin. He's starting at safety, and it's Kenneth Murray. So are you good with Van Jefferson? Like,
I'm 100% in on Van Jefferson
and then we get
because
to
he's
pick.
he's a kick returner, punt returner too, right?
Yep. So
Oh yeah,
JoJo, we got a lot of options there.
that's
I've
right. We
watched,
got JoJo Natson. I forgot about him.
yeah, but he's a 1 year deal as well. So
Yep.
we got options. Let's go Van Jefferson. So we're continuing to address Khalid Kareem would have been a pick I would have been interested in. I really hope there's somebody in the edge, Hightower, whatever his name is, would be nice here at 115. This is where I start to look at who can do specific things that I need them to
Yep.
do, right? So at defensive edge, we got nothing. Not, I don't
I
dislike
actually like Kenny Willekes. Is it
Willigies.
Willekes?
Okay,
Dude is an athletic freak.
got it.
Um, I saw the video of him doing backflips to like.
Is this more Gennard Avery type, um, where
No, I
he's
think he's a straight edge player. I
okay?
don't think.
I haven't looked at his. I don't. Yeah. At this point in time in my life, I have to pick and choose who I study.
No, I get it.
uh, so but I think edge is important to look at here. So yeah, he ran a pretty bad 4.87. I don't know what his 10 is. 7.39. What else is available? He's in it. I mean, I haven't studied him enough. I know Alton Robinson would be a more mid-round area. So
And
it,
Fernie Jennings is there too,
where's Anthony Jennings?
the edge player.
Oh, that's who I was looking for, Anthony. I was looking for Alex Highsmith. He must have gone off the board way earlier than I thought he should. Yeah, no Highsmith. Where did he go? Holy mackerel. He
Oh,
went
there
up
he
at
is.
93. Um, so you know what? Honestly, this is where just based on looking at the names that I see that I know, and obviously I'm not gonna pretend like I know them all this year, I don't see a player I just want to jump at. You know what I mean? Like they're fine, but that's feels like pushing need over
What
quality.
about is it Asiasi? I know Steven absolutely loves him.
I wondered if that would be where I was gonna let it play for a second. He would be my pick because again you're going for value quality. Listen, if one of OBJ or Jarvis are hurt and they want to run three linebackers or three tight ends out there, split out Njoku. I don't care. It gives some versatility. Um, he's an interesting player overall, and it's not just reaching for need; it's planning for the future. Listen, Njoku's in a make or break season. His fifth year option is going to be $12 million or whatever it's going to be. Like he's in a make or break season, so I think Asai, whatever, is probably a good pick there. You okay with that?
Yeah, yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay.
So Jace, on the 40 for Kenny, is that it's the 10-yard split.
Yeah, that's what I
I
was
hope my
wondering.
D end isn't running 40 yards unless he's like blocking for Kenneth Murray to return a touchdown or Greedy Williams or Denzel Ward. I know I've seen plays of Miles Garrett run and catch. Like Miles Garrett should not have to run down the field to catch somebody.
You would stinking hope. So I'm pulling up one of the resources that I love
Look at this.
and see if my boy. Yeah, it's a fun one, isn't it?
Goodness gracious.
It's a little overwhelming. What's his name? Wilkies?
Yeah.
All right, I don't have the 10-yard split. This is where get all my tapes and stuff.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
so the other place to look um, is if you guys, um, I'm gonna pull it up on Twitter. So hopefully you guys can't see anything you're not supposed to see on here. Because let me just tell you that it's been a lot of talk of stinking uniforms. Well, how do you spell that dude's name?
Willekes, I believe.
All
Look
right,
at that.
so this is my boy Kent Lee Platty. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
10-yard split 169.
yeah, so everything's okay. So Roz is always something that's really interesting. Follow MathBomb. You see his at
He's
down here.
legit. You could download this as a program for your PC, and then you can just. He has like all the way back to like when the draft started.
Yeah, dude's amazing. Like
It's
I
insane.
love what he does. So MathBomb really provides some really interesting things for us. While the simulator hopefully is running here in the background because we're going to take a little while to get down
Yeah,
to wherever the heck we actually are going to be selecting.
and it keeps scrolling you back up.
Yeah, it doesn't let me. So again, thank you guys all for
You guys are awesome.
participating, jumping in. I'm enjoying this. I've actually had a conversation with Jeff Risden. Him and I might do a first round where we're picking all of the picks. So just the first round, and maybe we'll jump down into the second round for the Browns. And he covers the Browns for Browns Wire, and he also does the Lions Wire. So might be something him and I do together as well. Who knows who else will try to jump into this? I almost reached out to Matt Miller from Bleacher
We're
Report,
up.
just be like, "Yo, while you're drinking." Um,
All right, so I have a bit of a draft crush on Courtney Davis, but we did we take no, we didn't
we
take a
took,
receiver yet.
yeah, we did. We took Van Jefferson, and then we just took a tight end.
Oh, that's right, we did
You
take
can't
Van
have
Jefferson.
another
You're
wide
right.
receiver.
You're right. You're right. You're right. Never mind then.
So here's where I'll just be honest. I'm a little lower knowledge base on some of the guys. Like I just haven't been able to get as deep as I want so far. Like I've looked at Antoine Brooks a little
I've
bit.
looked at him.
I really do like him. Um, I just don't know what he does. Yeah, I just don't know what that's going to look like. Like how does he fit all of that kind of stuff? Uh, yeah, I don't know who Nick Harris is. Jace, tell me about Nick Harris, buddy.
Let's see here.
Sounds like someone who has a nasty attitude. I like that. Again, this is Tony Pauline, short and gets overrun by larger defensive tackles. Well, most of us do. Again, I'm okay with going with offensive line, edge rushers, those kind of things. And then Sam Penix wants us to look at Bravian Roy. I appreciate. See, this is the fun of doing this. So at 187, we can go with. Yeah, sorry, I got you, Jason. So I'm gonna scroll down a little bit. So we got all the way down to James Robinson.
I mean, how would you feel about the guard from Michigan, Ben Breedson?
I don't really like drafting them, to be blunt with you.
Uh,
I think I don't know what I think about Harbaugh, but I feel like there's so much amiss there. By the way, someone named Cleveland always needs to be on our um, and that's Anthony. Sorry, Jason. I flipped around too quickly. I got ADD over here. There's no one really left at running back that would really interest me, Anthony, for right now, based on everything else. Um, but I like the thought because that's thinking ahead. Here's reality, and Browns fans aren't going to love it when I actually end up writing the article, but we have a decision to make on Nick Chubb, and it's not far off, y'all. Like you're in year 3 of a 4-year contract.
is it year 3?
Year 3 of a yeah. Remember he didn't get used at all by Hugh Jackson. Freddie had him last year. And when is the last time a running back on a or a second contract was worth that stinking second year contract?
I
There's not.
really like Nick Chubb.
I love Nick Chubb, y'all.
I
Like,
love Nick Chubb.
like I'm everybody who will ever hear this from me is gonna get pissed off. By the way, Tanner Muse is also someone I've looked at the safety position. So I've spent some real franchise him twice. Yeah, there's something to do there too as well. Um, so I have a article saved. It's actually you guys can see it up here. It says how NFL teams could trade young quarterback starters and thrive. Um, and I'm actually going to use that Bill Barnwell piece, which was about Jared Goff before they signed an extension, to talk about Nick Chubb and why they should trade him. So, all right. So far we've got people interested in whoever Sam told me that I just forgot his name. Bravian Roy led FBS D tackles in pressures with 51, and he's a nose tackle. Jason Snyder, Geno Stone, the safety. Um, yeah, Jace, I do. Um, and then obviously we talked a little bit about the offensive linemen that are here. Um, for me, offensive line makes sense. Who was it that you liked?
Me, I liked Breedson right there at 178, the guard from Michigan.
Oh, and Nick Harris was who Jace liked. Yep.
I do like Antoine Brooks though. I mean, I
Does he
think
have
he's
where do you see him fitting in with Jeremy Chin?
so. Let's see here. I need because it depends on how Woods wants to run his safeties.
Hmm.
Um, let's see here. What's Marino safeties? So he's a downhill in the box safety, so I'd see him more as a strong safety. But
Okay.
it says total liability in man coverage, tight hips, heavy feet. Um,
Yeah, so I think what's
he is a
interesting
straight in the
straight in the
box.
box, right? So is he Derek Kindred, right? Like is he a kindred spirit? That's such a terrible pun.
That
Good
was the worst pun.
gracious. Um, because here's my issue is with Lamar Jackson being our kind of primary and Joe Burrow who can move a little bit, like a free safety or a linebacker who can't get sideline to sideline is not pointless, but there's some concern there, right? Like,
So Kyle Crabb says he's got likes his anticipation and zone coverage when working with flats or hook curl landmarks. Shows good anticipation to break on throws. not a ton of ball production, but plenty of football IQ at the play, lets him flash. But he's not a very long guy because he's 5'11", 213. So he's definitely a Derek
Yeah.
Kindred spirit to double down on your pun.
That a boy. We're going with the guy from that school up north. Then let's go with the guard. Let's continue to build the
Wow.
offensive line. Either him,
You just don't know what you got with Wyatt Teller and Athlete X or whatever they call him,
right? Project X,
Project
Drew
X. Yeah,
Forbes. Yeah,
Drew
like
Forbes.
for me, and I'm okay. Honestly, I'd be okay with Nick Harris based on what is there, um, and what I don't know about him. But let's just keep this moving because we have one more pick, and it's almost been an hour, and it's been fun, y'all. Yeah, Jason, I think double dipping on a safety makes a lot of sense as well. I think the only concern there is that they've already added Carl Joseph, Anthony Sadejo, Jeremy Chin now. It's not a bad thing, but later in the draft, I'm either looking for speed or I'm looking for big dudes. Like that's just I gotta hit resume draft. Come on,
Yeah.
dummy. Those are the two things I'm always looking for late in the draft, unless I'm gonna draft a kicker. We got Cyber, we got Polish Hammer, we're good. I'm looking for speed or I'm looking for big dudes, and that's really kind of what it comes down to me is that's all I'm really looking for. So, man, Tyree Cleveland's gone. Like it's literally why I will go at this point in time if I'm running a draft. I'm looking at cornerback, I'm looking at wide receiver, I'm looking at running back, and then I'm looking at the lines. Like those are the only areas. I'm not looking at linebacker really. I'm not looking at anything like I'm not even really tight end, any of those kind of things. Maybe a fullback if I needed one, but I really just want speed or big. Give me one or the other.
But
Uh,
I really thought John Runyon Jr. was going
oh, there goes Bravian Roy for you. Sorry,
to.
Sam. What'd you say? Sorry.
I'm surprised that John Runyon Jr. didn't really. I mean, he actually played well at the Senior Bowl, and his dad was so good that
Yeah.
he's seventh round pick.
Yep. Now, here is what's interesting. For some reason, I had Lamar Jackson confused with somebody else because I thought of him as a nickel inside corner, but he's
Hmm.
6'2". He actually fits Donovan Alambu, who they signed this year, more in that Seattle cover three kind of type player, which is kind of interesting. Um, it would have been really nice to have someone to move kind of on the inside.
You want a heavy guy, John Pennicini from Utah. That's a big dude.
That is a big dude.
But I think he's more like a 3-4 nose tackle versus a 4-3 nose tackle.
Yep.
I don't think he has any. I don't think he's a much of. I think he's more of a run stopper than he is a pass rusher.
Yeah, and I think right now with Billings and with Larry Ogunjobi, they hope they're okay there. Not,
Yeah.
you can never plan. I don't really have any kind of thing I have to have here.
I
What's
want
up?
Lamar Jackson to pick off
I
Lamar
really do.
Jackson.
Honestly, I want Lamar Jackson to pick off Lamar Jackson too. Like I want him to hit him in the head, not head. Sorry, I want to hit him hard, and I want it to be Lamar on Lamar crime. Like I really do. I'm really in that. Petty is me. I'll go. I'll be okay with it. Can I search for just Ohio State players at this point in time? Is that allowed or
I think you'd be looking at either. There's Jordan
Jordan
Fuller, but
Fuller?
again, he's a. I think he's more of a free,
Yeah.
which would compete with Chin. I don't know. I don't know if Chin's got the size to play in the box.
I
But
think he
again,
can.
that's going to be the interesting part about we have no OTAs to see what these guys are doing.
I think Jason's right there is looking at quarterbacks. I will tell you, Austin Mack is an interesting player. No one should draft him, just to be blunt here. He just catches touchdowns. Like he does some dumb things, but now Anthony, you knew I was going to get to Victor at some point in time.
Yeah,
Benjamin Victor, I've been freaking comparing to Plaxico Burress since his freshman year at Ohio State,
he didn't
and
run very well.
he didn't run very well. But there's just something about that lean, long frame, like that's really interesting to me. But I think if we can look at quarterback, I think Jason's right. If there is somebody here, like at 299, like how can you turn that down?
Very easily. He couldn't hit the broadside of a. I mean,
I'm
he
just
could
kidding.
not
Yeah.
hit the broadside of a barn.
I don't, I won't pretend like I know any of these players
I mean, I
from
know Nate Stanley from
I know the
watching in the Big
names.
Ten.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I know the names. I'm not going to say I scouted any of these guys. at all in any way, shape, or form to
Not even
know.
close. Yeah.
So, Jason, you're right. I just don't know who it is to be the guy making that pick.
Well, and
I've
then
heard,
you have I could see them bringing in a guy that's undrafted to be kind of the fourth string because you've already got obviously we have Baker, then you've got Case Keenum,
right.
and then you got Baker's buddy from high school, Garrett Gilbert,
Yep. I couldn't
and
think.
then you're going to have a fourth guy try to battle Gilbert to see who's going to be carrying the clipboard on Sundays.
Now, Anthony Joki says we should draft Trey Adams. And Anthony, I don't know if you know this, but I have two major scoliosis curves. The top vertebrae in my neck has turned completely around, and I might have a better back than Trey Adams. So, ain't no way that's happening. And yes, that is all accurate. The top vertebrae in my neck goes this way. All the rest of them are kind of twisted with it. So, um, anybody else jump out at you names that you've seen? Because that's really what we're talking about here.
Scroll back up to the top. I guess
I'm
let's
at the
see.
top. Oh, I
Oh,
got
it's okay.
it.
Scroll down a little bit.
Oh, Jace, it's not great, buddy. That's for sure. That's why there's an inversion table over there, rolling pins over there, glucosamine chondroitin over there. A little bit of that, a little bit of this. Sorry, I'm still scrolling for you.
Man.
Yeah, I don't really know. Can we get Lamar Jackson to pick off Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, let's just do that. Let's just go
Let's get a
Lamar
big
Jackson.
corner who can play some special
I
teams.
like him because I've seen Stephen Thomas draft him a lot. I'm just kidding.
We love you, Steven. By the way, today's mock draft is brought to you by the OBR and Stephen Thomas Comedy on Pandora and wherever else you can get buy his crap. Please buy his stuff. Everybody else, I hope you guys are doing well. Luke, I hope it's going okay up there for you and your family as we
Yeah.
muddle through all of this. Let's finalize this draft and then we will be done for the night because old man's going to go to bed. Andrew Thomas, we've got our starting left tackle that we hope for into the next decade. Kenneth Murray, we have a an identity at linebacker. Jeremy Chin, we have a small school version of and a safety version of Isaiah Simmons. So those are our top three picks. We moved up for 58, so we do not have a 2021 third round pick because we really valued Jeremy Chin. So, Luke, we're finishing up here. How do you feel about those top three picks?
I think you have your starting left tackle to protect Baker. I think you have a starting Mike linebacker to take over for Joe Slobert, as a lot of people like to call him. And then you have a guy that can come in and battle with Sendejo or Joseph, depending where you want to put him, to learn the safety position and not put two rookies back there. Because at the start of the free agency, before we signed, everybody was drafting two safeties. I'm like, there's no way they're rolling two offensive tackles out there as rookies, and there's no way they're going to roll two
Right.
safeties out there as rookies. That's just bad game planning. So I think you attacked. You've got Van Jefferson who could develop into something nice as a punt returner, kick returner to battle JoJo Natson, but also be out there with
Your third
Odell
receiver. Yeah.
or a third receiver. Asi is that does Njoku take that next step?
And it gives us Asi and Taki Taki. Like, there's some fun there. Like, I mean, if we're going to draft for a
Breedson
reason.
is a developmental player that could step in if Taylor or Forbes doesn't work out. Maybe Batonio gets hurt. God praying he doesn't because he's so
Sure.
awesome. And then Lamar Jackson picks off Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. I,
So
it's a fun draft. I think there's a level of boring to it that I'm very much in favor of,
it's
because
methodical.
it is. It's very methodical. It's very purposeful. I think we could have gone with a safety at 41 and a linebacker later and been okay, but we ended up where we wanted to be. Giving up a third round pick next year is what it is. Like, I don't love it, but we moved down out of
Do
97 to
you
105.
do you think the difference from Delpit to Chin is greater or less than the difference from Murray to Wilson?
I think given what I know, we would have made the right decision. So the drop from Murray to Wilson is greater than the drop from Delpit to Chin. I think my biggest concern with Chin is I feel just from the amount of we can get from Southern Illinois, I feel like he's going to be more of a tweener than people want to give him credit for, or not give him credit for, but I think people like him as that versatile piece. where I'm worried that he's more of a tweener piece. And I really think Joe Woods wants someone who can play center field, but also can, can hit some and, do other things. And he just wants that athlete back there. So that's my only concern really with Chin. It's why in other drafts where I've traded down,
Hmm.
I've actually, there's one where I figured out how to trade down twice, ended up with a free safety. I forget who it was, and Chin. So I actually ended up with Chin as my strong safety. So I like that a little bit more. But I think given everything, this is the right order to go in.
That's a lot of speed.
Yeah,
Murray, Chin, Jefferson. That's a lot of speed. And what did Asiasi run? I don't know if he was. Is he a speed guy or is he more?
that's a good question. I'm not sure. So yeah, overall, I think it's an interesting grouping. Um, I Jace is looking up all these things for us. 4.75. For a big guy, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
It's not ultra speed or anything, but I think one of the things to think about then is imagine Isaiah Simmons or Jeffrey Okuda. Let's use Okuda because I think they're more likely to draft Okuda than they would Simmons at 10.
Hmm.
So imagine this as Okuda, Kenneth Murray, Jeremy Chin, erase Van Jefferson, erase that extra or the fifth, getting it back and putting Trent Williams there, right? Because that's one of the possibilities
Yeah.
that I don't know if offensive, I don't know how they value that, but if Akuda's there at 10, then that means you don't have that 97th pick. And given everything else we did, obviously you can't assume everything's going to go the same, but given everything else we did, that means you have Trent Williams there, no Van Jefferson, no third round or fifth round pick in 2021. And then those comp picks would actually be 2022 because 2021s are from this
Yeah.
free agency. So I just think it's interesting to think about. Akuda, Murray, Chin, that's all defense, which we need a lot of defense. And then Trent Williams solidifies the offensive line, but gives us a third corner that we didn't get until we got Lamar Jackson, down here at 244. So I think it's just an interesting, at the end, you kind of look at it. But Luke, a lot of fun tonight. I
It was
appreciate it.
a good time.
Yeah, we'll maybe get one of these in again, now that we know how we're doing it and knowing that it didn't kick us off. So, hallelujah for that. So,
It's too bad Matt couldn't be here.
yeah, yeah,
His
but
landscaper.
yeah, good job, man. He's got a landscaper. What's up with that, baller? All right, so everybody, Jason, Anthony, Jace, the person I don't know who it actually is at the beginning, but Tuzzles 95, what's up with it? Sam, how you doing? Paul, I'm sorry that the sound keeps cutting in and out for you. Hopefully, I'll check out with everybody else if that's true as well. But I apologize that that was your experience. Luke, again, make sure
Yeah.
everybody follow him, IUPUI guy. So if you don't know, that's actually Ooey Pooey over in
Yep.
Indiana. And what is it, 82? Yep.
Yep.
IUPUI guy 82. Give him a follow.
I do
Uh,
follow back. I'm not one of those follow and then like unfollow people.
That's kind of fun. And then you can follow me at Jared K. Mueller or at the OBR. Make sure you, Monday through Friday, OBR Newswire pod held, hosted by Jake Burns. And then just know here on Twitch and then going to be up on YouTube, we're going to be having a draft show, at least for the first day, possibly for the second day, and we'll go from there. So thanks for stopping by, everybody. Luke, thanks again, man. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you, buddy.